Okay, I think we're ready to go. Are you excited?
Yes.
Welcome to History with Kids. Today we're straying a bit into myth with the Epic of Gilgamesh. Quotes are from the translation by Maureen Gallery Kovacs. We should alert you, this episode includes violence, death, and a special lady friend. We're not trying to scare or scandalize anyone, but this may not be for sensitive listeners. Now, kids, have you heard of the Epic of Gilgamesh?
No.
This is one of the oldest stories known to Western civilization. It's extremely old. It was written on clay tablets with a reed using cuneiform, which are like little scratches that they would make in a clay tablet, and then they would bake it like a brick. And some of those bricks were discovered in the Middle East, and that's how we know the story. Let me tell you a little bit from the beginning of the story, okay, to help set the stage. It's going to be about a man named Gilgamesh. The god Anu granted Gilgamesh, this is a quote now from the book, the totality of knowledge of all. Gilgamesh saw the secret, discovered the hidden. He brought information of the time before the flood. He went on a distant journey, pushing himself to exhaustion, but then was brought to peace. Does that sound interesting?
Yes.
And the narrator, the person telling the story, says, "Go up on the wall of Uruk," that's the city that Gilgamesh was in charge of, "and walk around, examine its foundation, inspect its brickwork thoroughly. Is not even the core of the brick structure made of kiln-fired brick?" That means, isn't it a really nice city, built very well? "Did not the 7 sages themselves lay out the plans of the city?" So Gilgamesh is the king of the city, Uruk. But do you think that he's a nice guy or not a nice guy to the people who live there?
Not a nice guy.
Correct. And why do you think that is?
Because most of the rulers aren't really nice guys because they get corrupted.
Yes, you totally got it right. So Gilgamesh is so powerful that he's arrogant. He's not nice to people. He's like, "I'm the big man around here." People don't like that. So the people of his city asked the gods for help. And the goddess Aruru heard this, and she washed her hands, always an important first step when you're doing a project, pinched off some clay, and the goddess Aruru threw that clay into the wilderness. And that clay created a person named Enkidu. And Enkidu is a super strong person who's going to help the citizens of Uruk have Gilgamesh not be such a mean ruler anymore. Now, Enkidu, he's created out of clay in the wilderness. And so what does he do? He doesn't know anything about human civilization. So he's eating grass with the gazelles. A gazelle is like a deer. So imagine a person, all right, their hair is super long. They don't go to the barber. And literally they're eating grass. And he's like drinking from a watering hole, like an animal. Would you want to hang out with Enkidu?
No.
No. Okay. So Enkidu's off there in the wilderness, and a trapper finds out that Enkidu is there. A trapper's like a hunter for animals. So this hunter realizes that Enkidu exists because someone is filling in the pits that this trapper digs, and someone is helping the animals that fall into the pit. And so the father of this trapper, this hunter, says, "My son, there lives in Uruk a certain Gilgamesh. There is no one stronger than Gilgamesh. He is as strong as the meteorite of Anu. Go, set off to Uruk. Tell Gilgamesh of this man of might. Gilgamesh will give you a lady friend who might help convince this man of might in the wilderness to become part of civilization if he falls in love with her." So that's what happens. So the hunter goes to Uruk and gets this woman, this fancy lady, and her name is Shamhat. And so she goes with the hunter into the wilderness, and she finds Enkidu. And here's what she says to Enkidu. You ready? "You are beautiful, Enkidu. You are become like a god. Why do you gallop around the wilderness with the wild beasts? Come, let me bring you to Uruk, to the holy temple, to the palace of Gilgamesh, who is wise to perfection, but who struts his power over the people like a wild bull." Right? So this was all the plan, to get Enkidu to come to Uruk and have Gilgamesh not be so mean. But if you're Enkidu, is that what you want to do?
No.
Well, normally, no, you're right, except there's a very interesting line here. in these clay tablets from thousands of years ago about Enkidu. Here's what it says: that as this lady is teaching him, and as he's falling in love with the lady, and he's learning language, Enkidu, becoming aware of himself, he sought a friend. Becoming aware of himself, he sought a friend. So that's what's motivating Enkidu here. Now that he realizes that he's a person, he feels lonely. And he thinks that Gilgamesh, as a super strong guy, who's also kind of like a god, could be maybe his friend. So that lady, what was her name? Shamhat, and Enkidu are going to go meet Gilgamesh. As they're on their way, Gilgamesh at night has a dream. And when he wakes up, he tells the dream to... Who would you tell your dream to if you had a dream in the night?
Oh, the person who made that clay thing.
The goddess who made Enkidu out of clay? Well, who would you, as humans, in real life, tell if you had a dream at night that was like a weird dream? Correct. Gilgamesh tells his mom, "Mother, I had a dream last night. Stars of the sky appeared, and some kind of meteorite of Anu fell next to me. I tried to lift it, but it was too mighty for me. I tried to turn it over, but I could not budge it. The land of Uruk was standing around it. The whole land was assembled around it. The populace was thronging around it. The men clustered about it and kissed its feet as if it were a little baby. I loved it. I laid it down at your feet, and you made it compete with me." So what do you guys think that dream is about?
The mom is fighting against.
It's not the mom. It's the star that fell from the heavens. Remember, who is the star that fell from the heavens out of clay? Enkidu. So, and the mom understands this. So here's what the mom says about what the dream means. "There will come to you a mighty man, a comrade who saves his friend. He is the mightiest in the land. He is the strongest. His strength is mighty as a meteorite. Your dream is good and propitious." All right. So that's the beginning. And so now, if we go forward a little bit, Enkidu arrives in the city of Uruk, where Gilgamesh lives. And what do? They actually start fighting. They start fighting in the streets, in the public square. Because remember, Gilgamesh is very proud. He thinks, I'm the big, strong person in this city. And Enkidu says, no, you have to be my friend, but you have to treat me as an equal. I'm not going to work for you. You're not my boss. So they fight a little bit, but then they kiss and become friends. And they're going to go on some adventures together. All right, so there's a couple adventures they're going to go on. The first big adventure is they're going to go to the cedar forest in Lebanon, where Lebanon is today. And they're going to slay a demon called Humbaba. Humbaba the demon. Humbaba is the guardian of the forest. And they want to take down some really big trees back to Uruk to build cool buildings with. But they have to kill Humbaba to do that. And they want to be famous. And if they kill the demon Humbaba, they'll be famous. And they want to go on adventures together. And going to Lebanon and killing a demon seems like a cool adventure. So those are the reasons. Now, Humbaba here's some description, okay? Humbaba's roar is a flood. Humbaba's mouth is fire. Humbaba's breath is death. Humbaba can hear 100 leagues away any noise in the forest. And so this is going to be a big challenge for Gilgamesh and for Enkidu. So they have to prepare, right, kids? What would you do if you were going to go fight Humbaba before you left Uruk?
I would get some very powerful weapons.
Yes, that's totally right. No, that's exactly what Gilgamesh and Enkidu do. They go to the craftspeople, and the craftspeople sit around talking to each other to figure it out. And they say, we should fashion an axe. The hatchet should be 1 talent in weight. The sword should be 1 talent. The armor, 1 talent, their armor. So they're all talking about how to build custom special weapons and armor to protect Gilgamesh and Enkidu from Humbaba. Okay? Humbaba is the demon in the forest. Now, Enkidu's getting worried. So Enkidu says, maybe the people of Uruk should say to Gilgamesh that he should not go to the cedar forest. The journey should not be made. And so the noble counselors, the fancy people in Uruk, go to Gilgamesh and say, you are young, Gilgamesh. Your heart carries you off. You do not know what you are talking about. Don't go to Humbaba. It's too dangerous. We don't want you to be defeated by this demon. But if you were Gilgamesh, what would you do?
go. I would still go.
Yeah.
Because it
But-
might give him glory.
It might give him glory. Now, Gilgamesh's mom is nervous too. So Gilgamesh's mom says to the gods, to Shamash, who is the sun god, Gilgamesh's mom says, "Why have you imposed, nay, inflicted a restless heart upon my son Gilgamesh?" Right? The mom is worried about Gilgamesh and says, "Why did you make him have a restless heart?" But that's what he has. So as Gilgamesh and Enkidu are leaving, the elders of Uruk say, "Enkidu, you will have to protect Gilgamesh. Keep him safe. In our assembly, we have entrusted the king, Gilgamesh, to you. And on your return, you must entrust the king back to us." So now they're setting off. This is dangerous. How would you feel if you were on this quest with them?
I feel kind of scared.
Kind of scared?
May I say that?
That's fair. So Gilgamesh and Enkidu go on this journey. It takes a long time. They keep having dreams in the night, and they keep being more and more worried the closer they get to the cedar forest where Humbaba lives. As they get close, they hear the sun god, Shamash, tell them this: "Hurry, stand by, Humbaba, so that he does not go down into the thicket and hide. He's not put on his 7 coats of armor yet. He's only wearing 1 coat of armor. He's taken off 6. So the sun god is actually trying to help Gilgamesh and Enkidu and is telling them that Humbaba is a little bit vulnerable right now. And if they move quickly, Humbaba won't be fully armored. So that's a pretty good deal. Yep.
Wasting time talking about this one. I'd be running right now.
It's true, because Gilgamesh and Enkidu are scared, and so they're actually not quite going into the forest. They're almost wondering if they should run away.
Don't.
But Gilgamesh says, "Take my hand, my friend, and we will go on together. Your heart should burn to do battle. Pay no heed to death. Do not lose heart." So Gilgamesh is trying to buck up his friend, telling him, "Let's do this." Enkidu now says to Gilgamesh, "Why, my friend, are you whining so pitiably, hiding behind your whimpering? Now there, my friend, don't snatch your feet away. Don't turn your back. Strike even harder." So they're fighting. They're fighting against Humbaba. They're using their special weapons, and they're benefiting from their special armor, and they're in a tough, tough fight.
But aren't they also benefiting from Humbaba not having armor?
That is a good point. It gives them a shot at winning, maybe. The ground is splitting open from the strength of their pits. The clouds are darkening, and they're fighting. They're going back and forth. Gilgamesh is getting hit. Enkidu's getting hit. Humbaba's getting hit. Wait a sec. Then Shamash, the sun god, their friend, decides to help them. And Shamash raises against Humbaba mighty tempests. So this is what the sun god sends to help Gilgamesh and Enkidu.
What's
You ready?
A mighty tempest?
A tempest is like a hurricane. It's like a very powerful storm. So here's everything that is sent: the south wind, north wind, east wind, west wind, whistling wind, piercing wind, blizzard, bad wind, wind of Simuru, demon wind, ice wind, storm, sandstorm. 13 winds rose up against Humbaba and covered his face. And Humbaba was kind of trapped in this set of winds so that Gilgamesh's weapons could reach Humbaba. So Humbaba is vulnerable, right? The winds of the sun god are basically making it so that Gilgamesh has a chance to strike a killing blow.
If there's a rainstorm, does that damage his head?
Probably, since he's fire. I imagine that the rain also weakens the fire. It doesn't say that here, but that would make sense logically.
But isn't this Humbaba not a real person?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, this is a somewhat mythological story. Gilgamesh might have been real, and Enkidu possibly. Okay, Humbaba realizes that Humbaba is in deep trouble. So Humbaba says this: "Gilgamesh, you're young yet. Gilgamesh, let me go. I will live with you as a servant. As many trees as you command me, I'll cut down for you. I'll guard for you myrtle wood. Wood fine enough for your palace." So Humbaba is saying, if you don't kill me, I will work for you. Not a bad deal, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I think so.
Yeah. Well, Enkidu says, "My friend, don't listen to Humbaba." Enkidu's like, "Let's do what we came here to do." And Enkidu is basically saying, kill Humbaba. Kill Humbaba. And Humbaba realizes that Gilgamesh is going to listen to Enkidu and that Humbaba is going to get killed. So before Humbaba dies, Humbaba curses Enkidu. Humbaba says, "May Enkidu not live the longer of the two." In other words, may Enkidu die first. And so that curse is not going to take effect right away. It's not going to happen today. But over time, that curse is going to have an impact.
But wait, but how will he die?
We don't know yet. But that's Humbaba's curse. And as right after Humbaba says that, Gilgamesh cuts off Humbaba's head.
But I thought he was made of fire.
But the 13 storms are weakening Humbaba. So Humbaba is dead. Hey. And so now Gilgamesh and Enkidu can cut down some trees. They make a raft out of those trees, and they ride on the raft down the river back to Uruk. Mission accomplished on their first quest together.
But mission not accomplished on whatever his name is getting cursed.
True. Enkidu getting cursed was not part of the plan. And there's another problem. So when they get home, they get cleaned up, they get some rest, and there's a goddess named Ishtar who thinks that they did a cool thing. But the goddess Ishtar falls in love with Gilgamesh. She says, "Marry me, Gilgamesh. Kings, lords, and princes will bow down to you. The Lulubu people," I don't know who those people are, "will bring you the produce of the mountainside and countryside as tribute." And she basically says you'll get a lot of gold, you'll get a lot of nice things if you marry me. But Gilgamesh says all of the other people who have loved you over the many, many years that you've been alive ended very badly. You love them for a little bit, and then you lose interest in them, and then they usually die a horrible death. So I'm not going to marry you, goddess Ishtar, because I don't want that to happen to me. Does Ishtar like this?
No.
No. So Ishtar, she goes to her dad, right? Would you guys come to me if you fell in love with someone? And her dad says, "What's the matter? Wasn't it you who provoked Gilgamesh? Isn't it your fault that Gilgamesh is unhappy with you? This is on you here." So Gilgamesh said the things that you did. But Ishtar says, "Dad, give me the bowl of heaven." The bowl of heaven is like a super bowl that lives up in heaven, so that the bowl can kill Gilgamesh in his dwelling. If you don't give me the bowl of heaven, I will open the gates of the netherworld. That's like hell. And I will smash those doorposts and leave the doors flat down, and I will let the dead go up and eat the living, and the dead will outnumber the living. So does Ishtar seem like a nice person?
No.
Does this kind of prove Gilgamesh right about not wanting to marry her?
Yes.
I would say so. Yeah. So her dad says, "Fine, I'll give you the bowl of heaven." So Ishtar sends down the bowl of heaven to Uruk. And when the bowl of heaven does one snort, a huge pit opens up, and 100 young men of Uruk fall into the pit. At a second snort, a second huge pit opens up, and 200 young men fall in. At a third snort, a huge pit opened up, and Enkidu fell in up to his waist. Now Enkidu and Gilgamesh are having to fight the bowl of heaven. Enkidu jumped out of the pit and grabbed the bowl of heaven by its horns. But the bull spewed spittle, that's like spit, in front of him, and also threw some poop at him, apparently. I don't know. So Gilgamesh is getting in the fight as well, and they're working as a team. Enkidu grabs the bull by the tail, and Gilgamesh approaches from the front. And so while Enkidu is holding the bull in place from behind with the tail, Gilgamesh thrusts the sword into the head and kills it. So now Gilgamesh and Enkidu have killed Humbaba, and they've killed the bull of heaven. Although each time there's been some negative, right? With Humbaba, there was the curse on Enkidu, and this time they killed the bull of heaven, which is like kind of a godly being, which is not a great thing. And also, Gilgamesh says something not very great afterwards. Gilgamesh goes to the people in Uruk and says, "Who's the bravest of men? Who's the boldest of males? Gilgamesh is the bravest of men, the boldest of males." Is that a great way to talk about yourself? If you talked about yourself that way, what would I say to you?
Stop.
Yeah, that's right.
Why are you saying that?
Yeah, exactly. And if you were the gods and your bowl of heaven was just killed and Gilgamesh was walking around saying this, what would you think?
Maybe they'll put clothes on him too.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's not great. So time goes by. Gilgamesh and Enkidu mostly are having a good time, but then Enkidu gets sick. And and Enkidu dies.
Wasn't that the curse?
That was the curse. And Gilgamesh is very sad. He's very, very sad. He's sad that Enkidu died. And then he also realizes that means that he'll die someday. So here's what Gilgamesh says. I am going to die. Am I not like Enkidu? Deep sadness penetrates my core. I fear death and now roam the wilderness. I will set out for the region of Utnapishtim, son of Ubar-Tutu, and I will go with utmost dispatch. That means very quickly. When I arrived at mountain passes at nightfall, I saw lions and was terrified. I prayed to the moon, to the great lady of the gods, my supplication poured forth. So anyway, Gilgamesh is wandering around. He's worried that he might die, but he's looking for this guy Utnapishtim because Utnapishtim is famous for having been a normal person, but then having been granted immortality, which means that Utnapishtim can live forever. And Gilgamesh, having realized that all people die, doesn't want to be a person anymore. He wants to be a god like Utnapishtim, granted immortality. But he's not quite sure where to go. So he's wandering around, and he goes to a mountain called Mashu. He sees there are two guards. They're scorpion beings. Actually, they're married. It's a husband and a wife, a man and a woman scorpion being. It's not clear to me exactly what they look like. There's something between a person and a scorpion. And so Gilgamesh explains to them that he's looking for Utnapishtim, who was given eternal life. And the scorpion people say, never has there been, Gilgamesh, a mortal person who could do that. No one has crossed through the mountains. It's darkness throughout. Dense is the darkness. Light there is none. But Gilgamesh says, I'm brave. I'm going to give it a try. And he says, I will go on. Now, open the gate. And so the scorpion beings, he doesn't say please. Gilgamesh has never been good at saying please. Please is not really Gilgamesh's MO. So Gilgamesh goes forward to the area where Utnapishtim lives. And eventually, Gilgamesh has to do a couple different steps. He has to get a ferry across some water. There's a lot of little details. But he makes it to Utnapishtim, the person who lives forever.
Wait, is this a fake story?
This is a somewhat fake story, yes. It's one of the oldest stories known to Western civilization. So, when Utnapishtim meets Gilgamesh, here's what Utnapishtim says. Why are your cheeks emaciated? That means like you look hungry. Your expression desolate. Why is your heart so wretched? Your features so haggard. Why is there such sadness deep within you? Why do you look like one who has been traveling a long distance so that ice and heat have seared your face? You roam the wilderness. And Gilgamesh says, on my journey I killed bear, hyena, lion, panther, tiger, stag, red stag, and beasts of the wilderness. I ate their meat and wrapped their skins around me.
Wait, why don't wrap skins around you?
For clothing, to stay warm on his journey. Very challenging. Now, Utnapishtim tries to convince Gilgamesh that all people die and that's normal. So here's part of what Utnapishtim says. And you can really think about this, okay? Think about life this way. He says, for how long do we build a household? For how long do we seal a document? For how long do brothers share their inheritance? For how long is there to be jealousy in the land? For how long has the river risen and brought the overflowing waters so that dragonflies drift down the river? The face that could gaze upon the face of the sun has never existed, ever. How alike are the sleeping and the dead? That's kind of beautiful, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're Gilgamesh, does that convince you not to try to live forever? No, right? No. Yeah. Gilgamesh says, I've been looking at you, but your appearance is not strange. You're like me. You yourself are not different. You're like me. My mind is resolved to fight with you, but my arm lies useless over you. Tell me, how is it that you stand in the assembly of the gods and have found eternal life? Utnapishtim says, I will reveal to you, Gilgamesh, a thing that is hidden. A secret of the gods, I will tell you. So kids, now we're going to get the backstory of how is it that Utnapishtim can live forever. So, the heart of the great gods moved them to inflict a terrible flood on humanity. And Utnapishtim realized what was going to happen. And he tore down his house and built a boat. And he told people, abandon wealth and seek living beings. Spurn possessions and keep alive living beings. Make all living beings go into the boat. Does this remind you of any other stories?
Noah's Ark.
Noah's Ark, exactly. So this is like a sort of a version of the Noah's Ark story, where Utnapishtim is kind of like Noah in this story. And so Utnapishtim saved living beings during the Great Flood. And so that is why Utnapishtim lives forever. And so after that, the gods said, Utnapishtim was previously a human being, but now let Utnapishtim and his wife become like us, the gods. Let Utnapishtim live far away at the mouth of the rivers. And so that's how Utnapishtim got it. Now that Utnapishtim has explained all that, he tells Gilgamesh, who will convene the gods on your behalf so that you'll find the life you're looking for? Wait. You must not sleep for 6 days and 7 nights. So Utnapishtim has an idea, right, to test Gilgamesh to see if he has the potential to live forever. And remember, sleeping and dying are kind of the same. So Utnapishtim is saying, see if you cannot sleep for a week. Now, do you think you could not sleep for a week?
No.
No, but Gilgamesh is very powerful. So as soon as Gilgamesh sat down, sleep like a fog blew upon him. In other words, he immediately goes to sleep. He doesn't even make it one day. Utnapishtim says to his wife, look there, the man, the youth who wanted eternal life. Sleep like a fog blew over him. And his wife says, well, wake him up, send him home. But Utnapishtim said, people are deceptive and will deceive you. I know what we're going to do. Every day, bake a loaf of bread and put it next to Utnapishtim and draw on the wall each day that he's sleeping. So every day she bakes a loaf of bread and puts it by Utnapishtim and marks on the wall the day that he lay down. That way, by the time Gilgamesh wakes up, he sees a whole bunch of loaves of bread next to him. The first one was desiccated, the second stale, the third moist, the fourth white, the fifth had mold on it, the sixth is fresh. So that when he wakes up, he sees all these loaves of bread. And Gilgamesh, when he wakes up, says, oh, the very moment I was about to go to sleep, you touched me and woke me up. So Gilgamesh doesn't realize he slept. So Utnapishtim's wife was right. But Utnapishtim says, look over here, Gilgamesh, count your loaves of bread, and look what's marked on the wall. You've been asleep for a week. Right? That's how all these loaves are here, getting moldy. Gilgamesh realizes that he's not going to live forever, and Gilgamesh goes home. He tells his story, and people write it down. And so, in a way, actually, Gilgamesh does live forever. Because what am I reading you right now?
His spirit might.
His story. His story is still with us. And the way that the story ends is with Gilgamesh telling the ferryman, go up, ferryman, onto the walls of Uruk and walk around. Examine its foundations. Inspect its brickwork thoroughly. Is not even the core of the brick structure made of kiln-fired brick? That means like it's a really good structure. And did not the 7 sages themselves lay out his plan? 1 league city, 1 league palm gardens, 1 league lowlands, the open area of the Ishtar temple, 3 leagues in the open area of Uruk, the wall encloses. And that's the ending of the story.
What does that mean?
He's saying, even though I didn't live forever, my story lives forever, and I built a very good city in Uruk. And, some of that was with Enkidu. When they had to go up and kill Humbaba, remember the demon? They brought back big trees from Lebanon, which helped them make a bigger city and a nicer city.
Why did they have to kill Humbaba?
To be able to get the good trees that they used to help make Uruk a better city.
Oh,
And
good trees were near.
Correct. Humbaba is the guardian of the forest. And when they defeated the Bull of Heaven, they were protecting the city. So a lot of what Gilgamesh is proud of when he thinks about his life are things related to building up the city. And even though he didn't live forever, no one does, he still did a great job making Uruk as good a place as it can be.
Except for what's his name? But he
Enkidu?
does live forever because he did something like the other person did. He killed the Bull of Heaven.
He killed the Bull of Heaven. Yes, that's right. He did kill the Bull of Heaven.
So he does live forever.
He doesn't live forever, but he did a good job. Gilgamesh did a good job. And so, no one succeeds at everything they do. Not Gilgamesh, not me, not you guys. But Gilgamesh is still proud of what he's accomplished. The end.